Hello, and thank you for watching our video demonstration of upgrading Microsoft SharePoint 2010 with NewsGator Social Sites to Microsoft SharePoint 2013. My name is John Chapman, and I am a developer for NewsGator in Denver. Some companies really worry about SharePoint upgrades, but Microsoft has put a lot of effort into the upgrade process for SharePoint 2013, and Social Sites was designed to work consistently between SharePoint 2013 and 2010. With the same architecture, data, and features. Social Sites can even run across a mixture of SharePoint 2010 and SharePoint 2013 farms if your upgrade path involves running a configuration like this. To show you just how simple an upgrade is, we put together this step-by-step video. During the course of this presentation, we will cover a database attach upgrade from SharePoint 2010 to 2013 with NewsGator Social Sites. This will include preparing and backing up a SharePoint 2010 environment, migrating service applications and web applications to SharePoint 2013, running site collections in a SharePoint 2010 compatibility level, and upgrading site collections to a SharePoint 2013 compatibility level. For those watching who are not yet familiar with NewsGator Social Sites, we provide the premier enterprise social platform for the Microsoft SharePoint ecosystem. By integrating tightly with the SharePoint architecture, we are able to provide a robust social experience unlike any other. NewsGator Social Sites uses the same software for SharePoint 2010 and SharePoint 2013, making the upgrade process simple. Microsoft has provided detailed documentation on TechNet on how to plan and perform each step of the SharePoint 2010 to 2013 upgrade process. We will be covering a typical database attach upgrade outlined in the TechNet documentation. To begin, let's take a look at our SharePoint 2010 environment with NewsGator Social Sites. Our environment has a few communities, including the Human Resources community, in addition, we have a fairly basic homepage. Before upgrading, it is a great time to do some cleanup of unused sites and content. In addition, we need to remove any sites that cannot be upgraded to SharePoint 2013. The two out-of-the-box SharePoint 2010 sites that cannot be upgraded are the PowerPoint Broadcast and Fast Search Center sites. To remove them, we will use PowerShell. On a side note, since we are making changes to the SharePoint 2010 environment, prior to the upgrade, it is recommended to ensure we have a full backup of your SharePoint 2010 environment, in case you need to undo the changes we are about to make. First, we will remove the PowerPoint Broadcast sites by selecting all of the site collections with the PowerPoint Broadcast site template, and using the Remove SP Site commandlet to remove them. For those not familiar with PowerShell, we can use a pipe character to chain separate commands into one line. This takes the output of the first command and runs the second command against it. In addition, though the STS-ADM command still exists, it has been deprecated in favor of using PowerShell to complete administrative tasks for SharePoint. Now we will do the same for the Fast Search Center sites. If any of our content in SharePoint 2010 was upgraded from SharePoint 2007, we need to ensure that the visual experience for each site collection has been upgraded to the SharePoint 2010 experience level. We can use PowerShell to upgrade the experience level for the site collections. Lastly, before we upgrade to SharePoint 2013, it is important to note that NewsGator Social Sites should be running the same version in SharePoint 2010 that we are using for SharePoint 2013. For instance, if your NewsGator Social Sites installation on SharePoint 2010 is running version 3.0 and you plan to run version 4.0 in SharePoint 2013, you will need to upgrade NewsGator Social Sites on SharePoint 2010 to 4.0 prior to upgrading to SharePoint 2013. Now that we have prepared our SharePoint 2010 environment, we can start making backups of our databases. We will restore these backups in our SharePoint 2013 environment to perform the migration later on in the process. For the service applications that come with SharePoint 2010, Microsoft supports upgrading the business data connectivity, managed metadata, performance point, search administration, secure store, and user profile service applications. When upgrading SharePoint 2010 with Social Sites to SharePoint 2013, the user profile and NewsGator service applications are the only service applications required to upgrade. However, we recommend upgrading the managed metadata service application too. Other service applications may be upgraded or created new in the SharePoint 2013 environment depending upon your circumstances. In this demonstration, we will only cover upgrading the user profile and NewsGator service applications. To ensure no data loss occurs, we will set the databases to be read-only prior to backing them up using the SQL Server Management Studio. Now that we have set all of our databases to be read-only, we will take backups of each database. The last piece of information we need to back up is the encryption keys for the user profile service. We will use the MIIS-KMU utility to do this. We now have all of the data from our SharePoint 2010 environment we need to perform our upgrade to SharePoint 2013. Here, in our new 2013 environment, we have installed SharePoint 2013, but have not yet created any service applications or web applications. We will first restore each of the databases to our SharePoint 2013 environment. On a side note, NewsGator Social Sites does not support downgrading SQL editions. For instance, if your SharePoint 2010 environment was using the Enterprise Edition of SQL, the Standard Edition of SQL cannot be used in the SharePoint 2013 environment. Now we will set all of our databases to be read-write. Now that we've restored our Social Sites databases, we need to update the farm ID manually to match the new farm ID of the SharePoint 2013 environment. To do this, we will get the farm ID using PowerShell, and then use a SQL query to update the farm ID in the social group and farm configuration tables. With our databases restored, we will now create our user profile service application using the restored databases. First, we need to get the application pool that we will use for the user profile service application using the get sp service application pool commandlet. We can also create a new application pool if desired. However, for this demonstration, we will use the SharePoint Web Services System application pool for simplicity. When creating our user profile service application with the new SP profile service application commandlet, we are specifying the name, the application pool, and each of the database names that we restored. It is important to ensure spelling is correct. If we misspell any of the database names, we will end up creating a new database rather than using the existing one we migrated over. With our user profile service application created, we need to create a proxy for it so that our web applications can communicate with it. Next, we will start the user profile services on the server so that the service is usable by the web applications. Lastly, to complete our upgrade of the user profile service, we will import the encryption keys using the MIISKMU utility that we used to export them on the 2010 farm. When importing the encryption keys, we need to use the GUID provided by Microsoft that is standard for all imports. Next, we will recreate our SharePoint web applications. It is important to note that we do not create our NewsGator service applications until after we restore the content databases later in the upgrade process. In addition, we need to ensure that all of the mapped paths that were mapped in 2010 are also mapped in 2013 so that our site collections mapped to them will continue to work. If your SharePoint 2010 web applications were not using claims authentication, you will need to create the web applications in classic authentication mode using PowerShell and then convert the web application to claims authentication after the content databases have been restored. Since our SharePoint 2010 web applications were using claims authentication, we can create the web applications in central administration. Now that we have our web applications created, we can install NewsGator Social Sites to the farm. In addition, any other third-party SharePoint solutions should now be deployed. We will not be able to upgrade our content databases unless all third-party solutions that we had in our SharePoint 2010 environment are added to SharePoint 2013. As we install social sites, it is important to note that we are not provisioning the service applications. We will do this later in the upgrade process. Using the Social Sites install utility is only one way you can add the NewsGator Social Sites product to the SharePoint 2013 farm. If you prefer, you can also manually add and deploy the Social Sites solutions. Now that NewsGator Social Sites and any third-party solutions have been installed to the SharePoint 2013 farm, we can attach the content databases in PowerShell. We will use the mount SP content database commandlet, providing the name of the database and the web application URL to mount the database to the web application. Next, we will remove the NT content database that SharePoint added when we created the web application using the remove SP content database commandlet. With our content databases attached, we can now create the NewsGator service application using our restored databases. If you have any of our Social Sites modules that include a separate service application, you can create them now using the restored databases. During the upgrade process, if the URL to our web application changed, we need to update the Lookout URL in order to ensure all the links to Lookout work properly. We will do this in the NewsGator service application. With our NewsGator service application created, our SharePoint sites are now available for use running in the SharePoint 2010 compatibility level. Many organizations choose to run in the SharePoint 2010 compatibility level and gradually update site collections over time. NewsGator Social Sites fully supports this, and you can run in the 2010 compatibility level as long as you need to. Once you are ready to upgrade the site collection compatibility level to SharePoint 2013, we can run the upgrade wizard. When upgrading the compatibility level of a site collection, SharePoint will first check to ensure there are no incompatible sites or missing customizations. If we forget to remove the PowerPoint Broadcast or Fast Search Center sites, they will display in this report. During the site upgrade process, portions of the site will remain accessible to end users. In addition, it is common for errors or glitches to display while the upgrade is taking place. With our site collection upgrades complete, our upgrade is now complete. We have our My Site, our communities, and our homepage all upgraded to the SharePoint 2013 compatibility level. In this demonstration, we have covered a database attach upgrade of a typical SharePoint environment. For large SharePoint implementations, it is not uncommon to have a very complex SharePoint architecture that requires additional planning and tasks to perform. If you have any questions or need any guidance, feel free to reach out to us on our Engage community or through your NewsGator account representative. For customers who would like assistance, our services team helps them assess, plan, and perform their upgrades. Hopefully, watching this video has not only helped you to understand the steps involved in an upgrade, but also given you some comfort that an upgrade to SharePoint 2013 with NewsGator Social Sites is a straightforward process for both SharePoint administrators and end users. Social Sites is the most tightly integrated social offering for SharePoint and makes the most of all the social features in SharePoint 2010 and SharePoint 2013. We're really happy that we can make it easy for customers to move to new versions of SharePoint whenever they are ready. Thank you for watching.